Right, welcome, ladies and gentlemen. James Bond: No Time to Die featured a reference to Q being gay. Now, that reference was hand-waved aside. It was a quick reference. He's setting up a date, and he is meeting up with a he, right? Now, this is an interesting sort of point of view, because the character would act like that in real life, because the individuals around him would know of his preferences, I would imagine. You wouldn't be, standing on a pedestal screaming and shouting, I'm setting up my date with this gay man. You just be like, yeah, no, he. And then that would be it, right? That is realistic. No matter whether you think that was the right sort of inclusion into the movie or not, the fact that he is gay, the fact that they approached it in that fashion was actually the most realistic, right? However, the actor wasn't happy with that, and neither is The Guardian, a notorious shitrag here in the UK. So I thought this would be quite fascinating to delve into, because this shows the complete ineptitude of how Hollywood approaches their movies, and why things change, and why something which could be considered to be probably the best form of representation, literally just a momentary, I'm meeting up with he. Just that there, fine, that's realistic. And yet that's not good enough. And I always find this to be hugely comical. So I thought we'd just take a look at it, right? So let's dive into it. Let's take a look. And perhaps the most interesting, the most relevant part of this information is that the character of Q was, one, never gay. It was entirely irrelevant who he touched peepees with. But the actor himself is a gay man. So I would imagine that's probably where it came from. Because why would it come from anywhere else? So let's take a look, right? The actor is Wishaw. So James Bond, I think they've actually got a massive typo there. James Bold and Forthright, where Ben is hesitant to and shy. So he went to the premiere. This is talking about the premiere. He walked the red carpet. He saw to it that his family got to their seats. Then he fled. It meant Wishaw was not around to watch the scene where his character, Q, makes a passing reference to dating a man. Because that's super important. In a thin and fleeting way, again, this is the way The Guardian frames it. In a thin and fleeting way, this is a moment of cinematic history. The first acknowledgement that a main character in James Bond's universe might be anything other than straight. And that therein lies the problem, is because this is a record-breaking moment. They wanted it to be, they wanted people standing on Mount Everest screaming and shouting it. Whereas in actuality, people just don't do that. They don't. It would be fleeting. It would literally just be a moment. Because anyone who works with Q would know that he dates men. Right? That's real-world scenarios. So here we have it. When I saw the film, I assumed this nudge about Q's dating preferences must be leading us somewhere in narrative terms. Yeah, or it could just simply be they stumbled in on him setting up a date. Perhaps the male villain, played by Rami Malek, would turn out to be Q's date, adding an interesting wrinkle to the story of MI5's perennial efforts to overcome evil. I think that sounds bloody terrible, but The Guardian love it. Or would the producers take this opportunity to chide or tease themselves for never once admitting the existence of an LGBTQ plus character community in the 24 Bond films that preceded No Time to Die? In fact, the singular reference to Q's male date, it amounted to a pronoun, was the start and end of it. So, literally, The Guardian is positing that the producers should have made fun of themselves. Right? Okay. Rather than an actual real-world scenario of someone just going, yeah, he could be here anytime soon. That's what actual people do, you fool. I mentioned to Wishaw my mixed feelings about this, and he asked, what were they? I'm curious to know. He promises he won't be offended. He can recall only one positive text message he got about the scene, sent by Russell T. Davies. He claimed he thought it was cool that Q had a boyfriend. Otherwise, no one has given me any feedback. So I'm really interested in these questions, and I'm very happy to admit maybe some things were not great about that creative decision. What things? Again, what's wrong with everyone? I mean, I know, people that... I know why, because people do want it to be shouted from Mount Everest for some bizarre, strange reason. Remember, he's not a main character, so it doesn't make sense for that to be a focus, because people are like, yeah, but James Bond bangs women. Yeah, it's called a Bond film. I lay out my own subjective response as honestly as I can, that, on the one hand, it was a relief to see some diversity of representation in this particular film franchise. Okay. Which can be so creakily conservative in its mores. On the other hand, in handling the matter so timidly, in such glancing and underdeveloped fashion, Wishaw's line could be easily scissored out of the movie on its release in less than liberal territories. It created the impression of a creative decision taken grudgingly or embarrassedly, a studio with a gun to its head. There's some self-awareness, I guess, with respect to the movement here, I guess. Yes, people do just add stuff because they feel they have to. That is literally what happens, Guardian. Wishaw raises his eyebrows. He says, I suppose I don't feel it was forced upon the studio. That was not my impression of how this came about. I think it came from a good place. There you go. So yes, studios do feel like they have to do this stuff. But in this instance, the gay actor feels like it came from a good place. And I would say, yeah, the fact that they handled it so nonchalantly is that good place. He shifts in his seat, recrossing the limbs, drumming his fingers on his kneecap. He admits that he had similar concerns when the idea was first explained to him, during a one-on-one meeting with Barbara Broccoli years ago. Later he was shown a partial script. And I think I remember feeling something like, you've just described, I think I thought, are we doing this? And then doing nothing with it. Yes, mate, because you're not a main character. Who your character touches with his bits is not important. And unless they did make some contrived narrative of it then relating to another character who was, a main plot point, there's no point to doing that. I remember perhaps feeling that was unsatisfying. For whatever reason, I didn't pick it apart with anybody on the film, Wishaw continues. Maybe on another kind of project I would have done, but it's a very big machine. I thought a lot about whether I should question it. Finally I didn't. I accepted this was what was written, and I said the lines, and it is what it is. So, there you go. I just thought this was a fascinating, look into the mentality of people that really push and strive for this to be in their films. And they push for representation. Remember, actual representation does come in this form, where people will literally just go, oh yeah, he could be here anytime soon. Not, oh my god, I'm a gay man. Like he's not going to be flapping his, limp wrists around, is he, for goodness sake? Like, what do you want? Do you want it to be stereotypical? Do you want it to be, massively boost signaled? What is it? Because ultimately, on one hand, you say you want representation. You get given that representation in a very accurate form. And then these kind of individuals, again, the Guardian mainly, not the actor. The actor's thoughts seem pretty kind of down the line on it. I think he's been pretty smart about his answer, and then the Guardian doesn't like it. And this is the sad part about this, isn't it? Mainstream media's power to sit there and influence these kind of movies, because that's ultimately what happens here. Mainstream media will influence these kind of films, and saying these kind of things, and pushing this narrative that it wasn't enough, it's not good enough. No, nothing's ever enough for these people. We should never apologise, and never kowtow to them either. You got what I would consider to be probably the most accurate representation ever. But anyway, I'd love to hear your thoughts, especially from those of the gay community that watch my channel, because there are a fair few of you as well. Let me know what you guys think. Did you roll your eyes? Because I'm sure there would actually have been people that went, oh, for goodness sake, what are you doing? Why is this character now gay? And maybe there'll be people that, like me, thought that that was relatively decent representation and quite realistic. And then maybe there'll be other people that take the other firm stance that it wasn't enough. So I'd love to hear any and all of your thoughts down below. Let me know. Anyway, guys, thank you so much. Give the video a like, and please do share it. Subscribe to my second channel. It's in the description box. Follow me on Twitter and Instagram at MrH Reviews. In the description box, links are there. Cheers, guys. Take care.